some noise, Orange fans. It's time for the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Welcome to episode 35 of the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Google Play Music. I'm Sean alongside my buddy Joe. We want to be the best podcast for Syracuse sports on iTunes. So if you could, please subscribe and give us a rating on any platform, but iTunes is the best because it really helps us out in getting recognized on there in the ratings. And as far as the search goes, it'll pull us right up. So anyway, Joe, what's up, man?
What's going on, Sean? How you doing?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Sorry, we're a little late. Joe's been getting worked like a dog. We were going to try to get here a little earlier, but in the week. But Tuesday ain't too bad. Hell.
Is what it is.
Yeah. So look, all right, here we go. It's the post game poll. We're gonna do that today. We'll start with that. We'll get into the Miami post game as far as the game itself went. We'll do the bowl, what teams have clinched bowls, how many spots are left, what's Syracuse looking like, the odds, and then if we have time, we'll maybe talk about, we got power rankings. Leiden, I hear, might be playing in a high school gym near you. It's an actual possibility. G League, I don't know what else to say about that, but I guess we'll see how much time we got left. So, the poll this week after the Miami loss, describe your faith in Syracuse football after the Miami game? It's pay Dino, bowl game or bust, just enjoying the ride, or meh. This MEH meh has popped up all over the place on social outlets and everything. Meh, I've got pumpkins to pick or other. So I'll tell you where I'm at, and it's quite simple, and then I'll give you the ratings. Pay Dino. Pay the man his damn money, and let's get on with this. Lock this dude in. Syracuse football is on the rise. I've never been so pumped about a loss in any sport in my life. Pay the man some damn money. Joe?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I could go with both. I think that based upon now, I don't think that we would have had to have been. In the beginning of the year, I don't think that we would have had to have made a bowl game to prove that we had gotten better, because I knew that our schedule was very difficult. But at this point, with how we played LSU on the road tough, NC State on the road tough, Miami on the road tough, and beating Clemson, that Middle Tennessee State game hurts, but obviously there was some emotional attachment to that. And but I mean, at this point, I kind of expect to make it to a bowl game. So, but I absolutely think that we should pay Dino Babers without a doubt, because he's going to be up there on the list. Definitely going to be up there on the list.
He's earned a ton of respect. Is another thing too from other coaches and stuff. Syracuse being a private school, for anybody that doesn't know, but they don't tend to pay. They just don't have the funds to pay out like some of these other schools that aren't private. So, you got to give the man what he's worth. I say pay the man.
He's been a respected coach, I think, as a coordinator and all the way through. He's even being a head coach with Garoppolo, and then with Bowling Green, he did very well. So he's been respected.
Right.
But a lot of it is, you've seen it. Even with Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone, he went 500 after he was 25-25 after 4 years, and he got an NFL job, head coach. So it's one of those things where if you can prove that you can win and you can sustain, a program at Syracuse just going to bowl games at 6-6, then it earns even that much more respect. So I think at some point we're going to have to step up and pay a guy to stay somewhere, because you're not going to get it's rare that you're going to get a guy like Pasqualoni that's going to stay for so many years, or a Jim Boeheim that's going to stay for so many years without that max contract. So at some point we're going to have to pay him. Otherwise, we're just going to continually be a stepping stone of coaches to where they come to our school just to prove that they're a good coach, just so they can get a high salary somewhere else. So we have to pay him. Exactly.
The breakdown of that poll is pay Dino 64.4, bowl game or bust, call it 18, just enjoying the ride, call it 14. I got pumpkins to pick, just about 3%, and other, which is why bother even voting, 0.8%. You mentioned strength of schedule, or you mentioned whatever the hell you mentioned. I can't remember now. But you talked about the schedule, did you not? Because this was in my head. Okay.
I talked a little bit about the schedule when we were talking about whether or not it was a bowl game or bust.
Oh, right. Okay. So, despite Syracuse having faced Clemson in Miami, probably the two toughest games on the schedule in the rearview mirror, they still have the remaining schedule is the 17th most difficult schedule remaining in college football.
Yeah.
Still. So, kind of a big deal. Now, let's go into the game. Now, I mean, we could talk total yards. We're about 90 off. We couldn't pass real well, but we didn't need to because we just ran. You had Strickland with 105 and Dungy with 100, but that's not even the story of that game. To me, was the heart of Eric Dungy. This dude is a freaking gladiator. He is awesome. I mean, to throw 4 interceptions like that in the first half and not let that get in your head, first of all, it's very professional. Okay? Second of all, he never gave up. And I didn't give up. Joe, we talked about this. They could have won that game until they absolutely, could not. Until the very last second when you realize that, okay, it's impossible now. They could have won the game. They're in the game the entire time.
Yeah.
In Miami. Hostile environment.
Yeah, the field wasn't great. It was raining in the beginning, a little slick, terrible. A little humid. I mean,
both kickers slipping.
Yeah, it wasn't like the best environment for us to play. I mean,
how about the most savage play I've seen all season in college football is throwing an interception and then going and just getting it back by yourself.
Yeah.
He stole it from him.
No harm, no foul. It was third down.
Yeah, get a first down out of it.
He went and got his first down back.
Savage.
It was crazy. You don't see that every day.
No, it was remarkable. It was awesome. So,
well, that and his UFC flying knee kicks.
Yeah, which we could talk about that. I mean, that made a come on man. Last night Monday Night Football. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it was on there. And what's great about it was it doesn't look like it. He was trying to hurdle that dude. That dude was low. What was it?
I think.
You think so? You don't think he was trying to hurdle him? Yeah, I think he was trying to hurdle him, and the dude stood up, man, and he's like, screw it. He turned his body.
I think that he does it for two reasons. Number one, he's sick of getting hit in the head, so he figures if he jumps, he's not going to get hit in the head. But number two, I think that he's playing for the fact that maybe someone's going to dive at his legs. So, he jumps just in case. And either way, it pretty much, unless he gets flipped end over end, which might happen here if defense is started, but unless he gets flipped end over end and does a flip and lands some awkwardly, it's kind of
what I'm worried about, though. That's what I'm worried about.
But it's one of the more safe things. I mean, if he's going to do it like that, they talk about him trying to be more safe instead of just lowering his head and taking hits to the head and stuff like that.
He landed that, by the way, and got another 5 yards out of it after he knocked that. Who was it? Red Wine, whoever that was.
It could have been red wine. I don't know. But.
He knocks him down and goes another 5 yards before he actually gets tackled.
Awesome. He almost did it again later on.
I know, dude. He's awesome. I love that guy. I am so happy we get to watch this dude for another season, and it's so disappointing last year looking back and being like, man, we missed a lot of great Dungy-ness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even the year before he got knocked out as well, and there's been a lot of times in his career playing against the big boys that he hasn't been able to start. Because I know 2 years ago when we played LSU in the Dome and we had Clemson in the Dome as well, he was injured. So it was Zach Mahoney that was starting. And last year he got injured at Clemson and then missed the last 4 games. So he's been knocked out, and it's nice to see him, put some weight on, play a little bit smarter, and actually be able to be still, like what Dino Baber said, still standing with 4 games left to go.
He was peeling himself up off the. One more thing about Dungy, and we'll get into some bull talk, and you can add anything you want to this, Joe.
Yeah.
When that last drive of that game, when he was just, scrambling or whatever he was doing, you could see it in his face that it was just hard for him to get up. And he kept peeling himself up off the field, man. Adjust his thigh pads, and then he would snap out of it and he'd get right after it again. I mean, just
I would have loved
a maniac, dude.
I would have loved to have seen a before and after picture with his uniform. I mean, when you looked at it, his hand looks
the dirtiest guy in the field.
Oh, his hand looked swollen. He had blood all over the place. You saw marks all over his arms. Like, he went to battle. Like, there's a lot of people that gained some respect. I watch or listen to, I should say.
Give me the, before you get into that, give me the defensive coordinators.
Oh yeah. Well, at the end of the game, you saw the defense coordinator. I think his name is Manny Diaz. He ran across the field to find Dungy, and was basically like, I mean, I can't say everything that he said. I mean, I'm pretty good at reading lips, and I could see what he said, but he came over and was basically like, I've never seen anybody play with that much guts. He was just telling him like that was effing believable, and he was just giving him nothing but props, and it was just
he turned to Strickland too, and he's like, this man's effing amazing, didn't he? Something like that.
He turned to Strickland because Dante Strickland was walking right there, and he looked and he's like, your quarterback. He's like, effing amazing, and then he kind of gave him a little pat on the back, and when he went to go walk away to go, congratulate other people, you see him shake his head like, oh God, like he was just in
disbelief. Like, what did I just watch?
Yeah, like there's no reason that, especially like you said, you go out there and someone throws 4 interceptions, and I'm pretty sure it was the second one, I think, that he grabbed back, and there was a couple of bad reads, and one of them was a receiver's fault. Custis could have played a little bit better defense as far as, and when you're a receiver and a ball's thrown bad, or maybe not where you want it to be, or there's good coverage, then that receiver is supposed to turn into a cornerback or a defensive back and make sure that the interception doesn't happen. So there's a couple different things that could have helped him, but for that to happen and then for him to still fight back like that, and like you said, I mean, we got it back to 19-20, and Miami could have ran that clock out. They scored that touchdown to still give us almost 3 minutes left with 8 points to go, and I guarantee you that the defense or the coaches probably weren't too happy with that, because they probably didn't want Eric Dungy back on that field. And the time of possession was close, but we were well over 90 plays, and you could tell that Miami's defense was gassed. That was a reason why we had 2 100-yard rushers for the first time in a little while.
93 offensive plays.
Yeah. That defensive coordinator did not want to see Eric Dungy back on that field down 1 possession. And they pulled it out, and they couldn't get it done. But there's nothing but respect. Like I was telling you, I listened to the Dan Le Batard show on ESPN, and every Monday, his co-host there, Stugatz, he does a little, what he saw on the weekend type thing. And he started out with first, because they're based out of Miami, so they're Miami fans, so they definitely watched that game. And he started out by saying, basically kind of giving Mark Richt and the Miami coaching staff a little bit of crap for bad time management as far as at the end of the game, just not running out the clock. But then after that, he said, Eric Dungy, and then kind of paused, and he goes, respect. And then he was like, if I was Eric Dungy, it would be a month before I got out of bed.
Oh, man. I know it.
So, I mean, it's awesome to see like that. I mean, there's a lot of people that might have thought that we would have been 4-4 by now, but not the way that it happened. They probably would have thought we lost to Clemson, we beat Middle Tennessee State, we end up winning a close one to Pittsburgh, we still end up 4-4. But with the way that we've competed and the way that we've done, I mean, you've seen it. We've had national games. I don't think that we were supposed to be slated to be on ESPN until we actually beat Clemson, and then ESPN made sure that we were a primetime, well, not primetime, but 3:30 on ESPN game. And now you start to.
That's a high highly watched time slot at 3:30 Saturday afternoon.
3:30, the 3:30 and the 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
are those
in the prime time, of course, right?
Those noon games are where you get the Iowa versus Indiana's, and it's like a 12 to 15 game. The boring game,
Yeah.
but you just see it. You just see that the respect, the attention that we're gaining nationally. There's, I can't tell you. There's been so many years where I've watched game day, and there's not a peep about Syracuse. Maybe if they're playing a Florida State or Louis, they'll talk about it for a second, as almost as like we don't have a chance. But now you're actually talking about radio shows, and Dino Babers is all over social media, and he's getting interviewed and stuff and it's like you said, you got to pay him. We got to pay the man, because we're starting to get
damn money.
Yeah, we're starting to get that attention, and you have to use this momentum if you're serious. I mean, we're 4-4, and look at all the attention that we're getting. You have to use the momentum for recruiting.
We haven't gotten blown out yet.
No, and honestly, I mean, unless we take care of the let's be honest. The 4 interceptions is what lost us this game.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami averaged almost 200 yards. Miami averaged almost 200 yards on the ground coming into the game. We stopped them from running the ball for the most part.
Joe.
But they threw.
Yeah. Oh, go. I'm sorry. 3 for 13 on third down. Just before I forget, I want to mention that, because that's a huge stat on defense.
We're money at stopping teams in the third down. It's just stopping them from third down. But like I said, Miami was a predominantly running team, almost 200 yards a game, and I don't know how close they got, but I know that Rozier threw for 344. So
yeah,
and it was the same thing. It was like both teams were trying to take away the offensive strengths, and it worked because we didn't pass we didn't pass very well, but we ran the ball. At the end of the day, we lose the turnover battle 4-1. We call it 3-1 because, or 3-0 because Dungy took away the fumble. So. Either way, they were +3 in the turnover, and we were right there in Miami against the number 8 team. So every loss we've had has been because of our own mistakes and our own shortcomings that we cause ourselves. Really, it's not even the other team. So, and now you look at Florida State's down, and Louisville's down, and we still have a Wake Forest. I mean, they're still talented teams, and if we don't clean up the mistakes and we don't come out ready to play, we could lose all 4 of those games.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But this is the part right now. This is the point where we have to have the faith and the confidence as a team that we can compete with anybody and go out, get healthy on our bye week, and come back and get ready to take care of business.
That's the big thing is what a golden opportunity to heal up when it came at the best time possible. So yeah.
The only way that it would have been better is if they would have pulled out that win on Saturday.
Exactly, which would be euphoric, But
we have attention. We have respect. I think we had 1 vote in the coaches poll for the top 25.
Yes, we did. Yep.
So we got to use this momentum, and
we got to go in and we got to beat Florida State at home. We got to do it.
It would be very nice.
It would send a huge message once again, and we'd get the same recognition again. So
yeah,
you got 28 teams in lock for bowl eligibility. There's 50 left. Central Florida, Memphis, VTech, Miami, Michigan State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Marshall, Notre Dame, Army, Ohio, Toledo, Colorado State, Auburn, and LSU all locked up bowl games this past weekend. Syracuse sitting at 4-4. What's really cool or almost unbelievable to me is that we were at 75% for locking a bowl game, not locking a bowl game, but for getting a bowl game this year. Last week after the win at Clemson, they still got us at 70% of getting of being granted a bowl game. So, like I said, with having a week off, it's really going to help going back down to Florida, 2 trips to Florida. So they got us right now, the most logical path, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not even going to worry about that because I don't even agree with it totally. But they keep
there isn't a logical path because nothing about this season has been logical.
Exactly. I have my own. I'll just give you mine. I'm sticking with my call on beating Florida State. And then I don't know which one, but we take one home game. What was it, Wake Forest or Boston College?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could take one of those, and that would give us 6. I personally only think we need 5, but that's a whole nother discussion. They got us projected right now, possibly making the Pinstripe Bowl, which we were at a couple of years ago. But, I mean, I don't know, Joe, what do you think?
I honestly, I'm not trying to be a homer here or anything, but I honestly think
Homer
that
Joe.
we end up... Huh?
Homer Joe.
Yeah,
See you,
whatever.
buddy.
I think we're going to finish 7-5.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
I'm just saying.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I just don't get too high like that.
Because of the way that, I mean, I think, like you said, I think it's a perfect timing. As much as we have to go down to Florida State in 2 weeks, we get a bye.
They don't. So they're banged up.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they're dinged up. Like I said, they lost their starting quarterback way early in the season. I know one of the 2 years ago or a couple years ago, whenever we played them and Dalvin Cook sat out, or it was either Dalvin Cook or Devontae Freeman, one of the two. But they had that pass play, and he ran all over us, and he's out. So they're getting beat up, and I don't think they have too much confidence. I mean, they're 2-4. And they have to go to a red-hot Boston College this week. So they got to travel all the way up to Boston and play a red-hot Boston College team that scored, 86 points the last 2 weeks. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's going to be a hard-fought battle. Boston College is never really, a gimme. They have a really good defense, and now their offense is starting to click. So, I mean, Florida State, I feel like they could come down. As far as their confidence level and as far as their talent level, as far as being as close to us as it's been since we've been in the ACC, this year's probably it. And I think there's no way that Dino Babers has us sleeping in overconfident or anything like that coming out of the bye week. We're going to get healthy. They're talking about Antoine Cordy possibly being back, who's our starting safety, who had a fracture in his leg, or I think the first game of the season against Central Connecticut State. They're talking about him possibly being back. We had Scoop Bradshaw, who was our starting corner, and Jordan Martin, who was our backup starting safety behind Cordy, who hasn't played for a week or two. So those guys are going to be healthy. Kendall Coleman, our starting D-end in the beginning of the year, he's been out, hasn't played since the first quarter of LSU. They're saying he's going to be back. And then another guy in the rotation, Josh Black, is going to be back. Plus, Ishmael got banged up this past week, and, there's going to be bumps and bruises and stuff. So this bye couldn't have been – plus Dungy, I'm sure, is hurting. So
yeah, man.
This bye couldn't have came at a better time. So,
yeah.
I just have a good feeling. And honestly, the feeling is that, I mean, a lot of between NC State, LSU, Clemson, and Miami, there's no other team on our schedule that's as talented or as good as them or as confident as those teams for the rest of our schedule. So as much as they're good teams that can beat us, we've proven that we can play the big boys, and I don't see there being any type of confidence issues. And if anything, they should be out to prove a point. So that's what I see. I agree with your Florida State. I still think Louisville on the road is going to be tough with Lamar Jackson, but at the same time, they have a chip on their shoulder because Lamar Jackson made them look dumb last year. And that defense is going to have a chip on their shoulder playing against them. And Louisville's defense is not that good. So,
one more thing about Florida State, probably the most hostile environment we'd face this season. I'm just trying to think. But as far as an away game, that place is loud, and those fans are rambunctious. So
yeah, well, but I tell you what, if they lose this week, they'll be 2-5.
Yeah, the coach is getting death threats from fans.
Oh yeah, well, did you see Jimbo Fisher got into it with a fan this past week? Told him to go down there and say that. Yeah, picking fights with the fans and stuff it's not the best situation.
An excellent
right now,
coach, though. No, it's not. But I mean, come on. I mean, the fans. That's a raunchy thing for a fan to do to their coach. I would be appalled if someone did that to one of our coaches.
Yeah, and the thing is that's just comes down to expectations. You know what I mean? That's
they're spoiled. They're spoiled.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with SU basketball. SU basketball. Every time we start off bad or this or that, it's Boeheim's got to retire. He's got to play man. You get all the fans and the armchair quarterbacks sitting there trying to tell people what they have to do, coaches what they have to do. Like it's the same thing. Like college football, you need a good quarterback. You need certain areas, and with Florida State, they have so much turnover every single. Don't get me wrong, their recruiting classes are out of this world. But at the end of the day, there's times where you like us with Eric Dungy. Eric Dungy goes down, and any expectations goes out the window. And there's certain years where teams have backups, and there's certain years when they don't. And they had that Francois quarterback who was a redshirt freshman last year, and I think Florida State was basically expecting him to be the quarterback of the future for the next 2 or 3 years. So they might not have necessarily had somebody ready to go. He goes down. Oh crap! They lost Dalvin Cook last year. They're starting running back. They lost a couple receivers. They lost a couple guys on defense. I mean, they have so many people that go to the NFL or graduate every single year and lose underclassmen and go into the NFL that sometimes if you get the right injuries, then stuff just doesn't go the right way. And that's what's happened with them. And then confidence becomes an issue, and the next thing you know, it's kind of just a downward spiral. And it happens to good teams every once in a while.
Yeah, it can't be all kittens and roses all the times.
No.
So the power rankings are in for this week. The top 4 did not change. Clemson, Miami, Virginia Tech, NC State, your top 4. Georgia Tech up 1. Louisville up, what were they, 8? They're up to 6th, something like that. Wake Forest right behind Louisville. BC, they're up 2. Virginia, they're down, obviously. They dropped a few. Syracuse dropped 1. Florida dropped a couple. And they're behind Syracuse now. Pitt is up 1. Duke is down 1. And North Carolina still scraping the bottom. Yeah. So, and this is according to Brent Axe. I don't even agree with, I didn't fully agree with last week's, but this one, there's a bunch on here I don't agree with.
Yeah, well, just like the rankings, it comes down to
it's a one-man picking it. I don't think he's
Well, yeah.
So,
but it comes down to record. It comes down to who won, who lost. There's no reason why we should drop 2 spots to losing to Miami. It's just it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and we did. We dropped 2 spots. Yeah. So
yeah, and I'm screaming division reconfiguration, realignment.
Yeah,
because. Especially this year, there's been times where Louisville and Clemson and Florida State are all up there. But even if, Florida State's down, they're still not a pushover. It's still not an easy or an easy win.
No, it's going to be another tough game.
Louisville, they don't got as many offensive players around Lamar Jackson, and their defense isn't nearly as good. But Lamar Jackson's still Lamar Jackson. He won the Heisman last year.
Right.
And then you have Boston College, who, I don't know if they just figured it out a couple weeks ago or whatever.
But Boston, right?
Yeah. And the same thing goes with NC State. You see what NC State's doing. If they beat Notre Dame this week, then you're talking about would be Clemson at NC State. So, and like I said, Wake Forest, a senior-laden team with the coach that's allowed his group of recruits to grow, and they're no slouch either. Then you look at the other. I'd be willing to bet that anybody in our side of the division could probably beat at least 3 to 4 of the other teams in the other division. In my opinion, you have Miami's a legit team. I don't know about number 8 legit, but they're still legit. Virginia Tech's legit, and Georgia Tech's always tough. Outside of those 3, everybody else really is not that good this year on that side. True. Virginia, Pitt, Duke, North Carolina.
Yeah,
they would be in last place in our division. Yeah. All of them.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up there. But we will be back. We've got to bye, but we will be putting on an episode for the Florida State pregame, and that shouldn't be but so much. And we'll do some. Maybe a little bit of college basketball preview stuff.
Yeah, preview the season. We got some exhibition games coming up. So
we got just over 2 weeks until we really get at it. So and start playing. So it's going to be here before we know it. We'll put together a quick pregame for Florida State, and then we will do some basketball for the first time in a few weeks. So really appreciate you tuning in, giving us a download. If you go to facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast, you can like our page there. Thumb us up on Facebook, as they say. And that's it. Episode 35 in the books. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out. Later.
Cuse.
You just heard the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe.